let me tell you a few words about the NGO sector in really just 2 sentences. So we have roughly the same size as population as Bulgaria, and we have 58,000 NGOs in the country. I don't know how many you have. We have 58,000. 35,000 you have, so we roughly have double as you. How can I categorize and tell you something about this sector? And I think it's pretty similar that we have the vast majority of those NGOs are service providers. And a tiny fraction of those NGOs are advocacy or interest representation organizations. Which means that most of the organizations do service instead of state in social, education, or cultural field. Therefore, they are welcome. Always because they are nice. The small fraction which is doing advocacy and interest representation of different professionals or different groups. These are mainly institutional organizations because they can't have a contract with state for different services because their services are not taken seriously. They think, or state thinks, or people in general, that those services are anyway not needed, like human rights organizations. You mostly need food, and you are happy to give your liberties and human rights if there is food. So roughly, that's the picture in Hungary. That it's very strong and very powerful and state-really recognized that there are services which are poorly done by state agencies, and therefore it should be contracted to NGOs. And it's really flourishing. But if we just take the Ukrainian example, you really need to have NGOs and circles which are more movement-based, which are based on their constituencies, which are based on people whom they are work for, and from that support they work on. So when we had the chance to apply to be the grand manager of the Norwegian fund in Hungary, we said to ourselves, okay, the ultimate goal should be, and it was agreed by the Norwegians, and it was agreed by the Hungarian government as well, that this sector should be more movement-based, more voluntary-based, and more advocacy-based. And that's a big challenge. As I said, we do this job since 2008. Then we have been selected on an application basis. Norwegian government or state agencies just wrote the contract with us, and since 2008, between 2008 and 2011, we done the program. We distributed €6 million in the country. And that was a year pause, and the new Norwegian fund appeared in our regions, also in Hungary, and we again applied for this money. And now it's doubled, it's €12 million, and we started distributing the grant in 2013. But before, of course, we had to apply again, and there was a competition, but again, we won on the tender. We do this job in consortium with 3 other grant-making organizations. All of them have been established by American private commercial state agencies in the past, in the early 90s. So we share a kind of culture, how to do grant management on horizontal level, taking grantees and beneficiaries as partners and not just someone who you favor to give the money to. So it was very easy to team up, and we applied also at the beginning of 2007 and also in 2012 for this possibility. So the story goes that in 2012, when we had the second Norwegian fund in the country, there we had a separate team out of 7 thematic areas supporting human rights and advocacy and rule of law and democracy in the country. It was not the case before 2009. We didn't have something like that. And definitely, if there was a thematic area like that, something like 40 projects under this thematic area, which really wanted to have better democracy in Hungary, much improved rule of law, and safeguards of human rights in the country. In a pro-government paper, immediately when we selected the projects, there was an accusation that we are supporting oppositional movements, we are supporting left-leaning organizations. We said, okay, we don't mind what you are saying. Half a year passed, and then again the accusations appeared. They leaked information from our selection board committees, saying that, okay, again, new winners are on the horizon and they are going to support further oppositional movement NGOs. You should understand that, and this is the case also in Bulgaria and in all of the 16 countries, that even though the countries are receiving huge money from EU, from Norwegian and other donor countries under this program, but if it's the NGO fund, then the state has nothing to do with it. This money does not go through the Hungarian treasury. This money, through beneficiaries, through us, it comes from a Norwegian bank account, and the Hungarian state has no right to vote when we select projects. The only right they have being present at the selection committee meetings as observers. So they can follow what's going on. And same goes true for the donor countries. So Norwegian representatives are there. But they are not talking in. They are just sitting and listening, and if they have any comments, they can have it, but they are not voting. And they don't read the proposals because that's our job to do it, and then that's our job to find the selection committee members, the navigators, and they have a trust in us. So, then, further accusations appeared in pro-government papers that government is not happy with these programs, these grantees and beneficiaries and all their projects. And an investigative journalist at Portal asked the ministry, what's their problem and who are the problematic organizations? And they really sent a list of 13 organizations that these are the problematic beneficiaries under the Norwegian NGO fund. All these were civic liberties organizations, human rights organizations, interest representation groups from lesbian and gay organizations, and organizations that are trying to strengthen the safeguards of the rule of law in the country. From that point, it was really clear that what the problem is. But they also said, okay, since we are not happy with this program, we will investigate. And we will send you auditors from State Control Bureau, and we will rip you off. Which means that they said, okay, we will search for all documents, and we will find something which we can use in criminal court, maybe, or as a police investigation. So that was promised, and maybe this is the moment I can give you. I have a few pictures. It's picture 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So you can please. We received a letter. That's the only official letter we received from State Control Bureau at a given date, which is 8th of June. They will appear as the head organization of the consortium, the Kotárs Foundation, starting the investigation. We were waiting for these auditors, all the 4 foundations in the same office at the Kotárs, and they did not appear there, but they came to our other offices. So I had to take my bike and bike to our office, because the lady from the State Control Bureau just appeared in our office with 3 other colleagues and said, okay, if you don't sign this paper, which is the initiation of the investigation at your organization, then we will fine you or we will suspend your tax number. So I had to deal with these ladies for 3 hours. We made notes and we signed. After consulting lawyers, that it's better to cooperate with them. They not only started the investigation at our organizations who are the grand managers of this 12 million euro, but they also picked 58 beneficiaries, and they sent letter to them that the investigation now has started. Let's have the game. We received in 5 different flows or waves, different requests from the State Control Bureau that we should present documents in relation to our existence, delivered, and especially in connection to the NGO fund. Different papers, minutes, contracts, everything, including internal correspondence between the consortium members, including or work contracts and everything. We were reluctant to give everything since we don't have any contract with Hungary. We have contract with Norway, which means all the data what they had been asking for belongs to Norway, like proposals of 3,000 applicants, names, data, contracts with all the beneficiaries, final and midterm reports of the beneficiaries. We were reluctant to give. As Norwegian partners said, it's all belong to us. Hungarian state should ask from Norway all these data. And it went to an extent at certain points when they investigated at beneficiaries, like a lesbian organization, that they asked everything in connection to the project, if you ever had a training and you had catering, they asked, okay, I see that you did a training or a meeting and there was refreshment. I have to see who had taken from that refreshment. I need attendance sheets. And also, if you trained as a lesbian organization, lesbian activist, they said, okay, I won't accept this is a legitimate spending until you are not presenting who are these volunteers by name and address. So, and they asked from us, as we have these, because we received the reports from the organizations, they insisted that we should give all data unless it will be in the report that we can't give account on certain expenses, therefore we are misusing the money. But we were reluctant to give, and by the end of summer, in pro-government paper, the newspapers, it appeared that there are still semi-results of the investigation, and it seems that government will have no other chance but do a criminal report that we misuse the money in the country and we are not serving the good in the country. That really happened. A private person reported to the police that we misuse the money in the country. Later it turned out that this guy is a member of the ruling government party, and he was pleased because who knows why. So it was. So we have now police reports against us that there should be an investigation. Police sent us letter that they request information which were not sent to the State Control Bureau, so they wanted to have everything ready. And we sent all those what they were asking for. It was still basic data. They asked us to send basic legal papers about the foundations. And then, okay, if it's police, of course we collaborate because we don't want to go to jail overnight. So, but they did not wait. Next week, on 8th of September, they raided 2 of our offices. And if you go further, then you can see. So this was just the State Control Bureau visit at our office, but there are the pictures when 41 policemen raided the head office of our consortium. No one could enter into this house, only people who lived in. And it's an office of 100 square meters, and just imagine 41 policemen in an office. They confiscated everything, they've been there for 12 hours, from 9 in the morning until 10 in the night. And they took everything, servers, laptops, and documents, and when they realized that all those human rights organizations which were supported under Bulgaria, they belong to another consortium member of the managing organization. They visited their office as well with that many policemen, and also they searched at the IT company who is doing the database and online platform for the application, and the accountants of the organizations, and also the two directors of the head organization of the gun managing companies organization. So if you step further, maybe next picture, and then you can see again, I think, police actions. Okay, and one more. Again, these are the police cars in front of our offices. And then the last one, I think, it's a demonstration on the next day when it happened. And this is Maura Vera, the head of the consortium foundation, Lakotás Foundation director. Now she is taken to home because she admitted that there is another laptop at his home. So they went to home and confiscated that laptop as well. So. From this point, state has everything what we were reluctant to give to State Control Bureau, including 6 years of correspondence, or application to the Norwegians, all the contracts, all the final reports, midterm reports, everything. When not only at this point, but also a few months before, when the State Control people came to our office, I asked one of the ladies, okay, you say that you will punish us if you are not collaborating, but what is the guarantee if I give you any papers, any documents, I won't see it in the pro-government media over next day? Well, we are just professionals, she said, and we don't do anything like that. But it really happened. Next week, we saw everything in the paper. There were quotations from selection meeting committees saying that, yeah, we should support this NGO because they really try to control the state, because the state do stupid things sometimes, and that kind of service this NGO can provide. So they try to have evidences that we are really supporting NGOs which are anti-government, but it's so stupid. I mean, NGO sector should belong to the checks and balances and should mean kind of control over state, whatever state is in power. Just to wrap up the story, it happened in June, and since then we are just got writings in pro-government media that we are cheaters and we stole the money, and instead of supporting thousands of NGOs from this Norwegian money, we support only 13. It's complete lie. We support 500 organizations so far, and they are just always listing these 13 organizations, and therefore they're trying to create a mood in the NGO sector that this NGO is not managed fair, and we are just really stealing the money and channeling the money to our friends and no one else. And of course you can't be fired because we don't hardly have any independent media in the country. All the television stations, radio stations are controlled by state, and it's amazing how many false information is channeled to them, and of course they can quote easily nice sentence from a long sentence which can be a proof, okay, you see they are really villains. And now where we are is since the State Control Bureau closed down the investigation in September, no, in mid-October, and they have a report of 40 pages, which is ridiculous. There is nothing in it. But they say in general terms that there is suspicion that the money was misused. Therefore, certain ministries announced that now really we will enlarge the police investigation at these organizations, and you can expect a long procedure. So we are waiting now for hearings at police. Of course, we spend the day with lawyers. We try to find lawyers to each of the employees so that if they have to go to the police, then they are with the lawyer. But in the meantime, so it's on the long run, it can be dangerous because if they find justified anything, then we should go to court to defend ourselves. But it's more dangerous that the State Control Bureau, even though the investigation is closed down now, finished, and the report is ready, they ask as the tax authority to suspend our tax number since we were reluctant to cooperate with them. And now all of our 4 foundations tax number is suspended, which means it's an administrative step. Of course, we submitted an appeal against it, and we are waiting what the decision will be. If they refuse the appeal, then they not only will suspend the tax number, which is not really have any effect on us, we still can work because it's not in legal effect yet. But once it is in legal effect, then we can't do any business in the country. And then we can ask court to give back the tax number. That's the story, and we are waiting the decision this week. What will happen with us? So it might happen that by Christmas time, all those 4 foundations who are handling the 12 million euro and are handling the contracts of the 500 beneficiaries can't issue invoices, can't expect invoices, can't pay salaries, and we have to close down.